What's going on, Amiibo buddies? It's time to paint the town purple, because today we're talking all about Splatoon. Some of my favorite Amiibos to customize are the Inkling Boy and the Inkling Girl. And like I talked about in my previous video, they are some of the most customizable Amiibos just because there are so many costume options in Splatoon the game. Now, one of the most requested tutorials online is for an Inkling tutorial in order to change the ink inside the Inkling canister. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, changing the ink color and the complete recolor of your Inkling character. Now, when we're dealing with custom Inklings, the first thing we need to do if we want to change the ink in the canister is remove the canister from the Inkling itself. Now, there's two ways to do this, the easy way and the slightly less easy way. I prefer to take the easy way, even though it's probably a little bit unconventional for most customizers. So, we could just boil this guy, make his plastic soft, and that would make this canister pop right out. But what I like to do and what I've done in the past, because, well, if we take it off, it has to be glued back in place anyway, so I like to just pull it off. So I just grip the character nice and tight and pull it right off its back. Now, as you can see, that leaves little holes in his back, and inside there, a little bit of the plastic did break off inside, but like I said, we're going to be using glue anyway. So we just stick that back in there, and we'll glue it on, and it'll be good to go. So don't be afraid to rip the canister right off his back. There's no reason to boil water because, well, like I said, we're just gluing it right back in place. So it doesn't have to look pretty when we pull it off. Now, once we have the canister removed from the Inkling's back, we've of course got to remove the ink from inside the canister, or we're not going to be able to change the color of it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this canister, and right down here on the bottom, this is where the green plastic is going to make the clear plastic, and this green plastic with the blue inside is a separate piece from that blue plastic. Now, get a cutting surface because you don't want to do this on your table and ruin your table. So get some kind of cutting surface, make sure you have a sharp X-Acto knife, and what we're going to do is we're going to slowly just work ourselves around this plastic right where the two colors meet. So where the clear meets the green is right where you want to stick your knife. And just nice and slowly work your way around the entire thing. Now, some of these canisters, I've learned from experience, open up easier, and some of them take a little bit more work. So we'll see how this one works out. Now, once we work the edges all the way around, we're going to be able to pop this bottom piece off. So the bottom piece pops off just like that, and sometimes, if we're lucky, the blue or the whatever color the ink is will come along with it. But if we're not that lucky, unfortunately, now we've got to find a way to pry that blue out of the ink tank. So what I usually do is find some kind of pliers and just very nice and softly go in there and try to grip it and pull it out. So after you prod and pry, eventually you'll be able to pull the ink out just like that. So now you have a solid piece of ink. Now there's two ways to do this, and the way I like to do it is I usually just throw that ink out and I make my own custom ink. Now by custom ink, I don't mean I make a little clay piece and stick it in the tube. I mean I usually like to make my own liquid, real ink. So that's what I'm going to show you how to make. So in order to make your own custom ink like I do, what you're going to need is just a little bit of water to put in the ink canister, and then whatever color paint you're going to be painting your Inkling. So for this example, I'm going to be using this bright lime green color because I want to have a bright lime green Inkling. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to pour a tiny bit of water into the canister nice and slowly. Hopefully I don't spill this everywhere. Alright, and that is just about enough right there, if you could see that. Now, we just want to take one tiny, tiny, tiny drop of the paint that we're going to be using. All right, and just like that, we're going to let that sink into the water, and then we're going to take our paintbrush and just mix that around. Nice and smooth like that to thin out that paint with that water. Now that's going to give us a nice liquidy consistency of ink in our canister. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take our cap, which we already had taken off, and we're just going to pop that right back on there. Apply some super glue to the cap first, pop that right back on there, and now we have our own custom ink canister. Of course, the next step is to put this right back on your inkling. Now the next thing I wanted to talk about with these inklings was their glossy color. So the actual ink of the inklings has a nice shine to it, both on the floor as well as their hair. So when we use paints, we have two options. We could use gloss paint, but gloss paint is usually a little bit more expensive than matte paint, and it usually doesn't come in as many colors, so I always use matte paints for all of my customs. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. So on this side of the head, I'm just going to leave it matte, and I'm just going to paint a little bit like that. And on this side of the head, I'm just going to paint it matte as well, and then we'll use a little trick to make it glossy again. So now that our paint is dry, we can see that the matte paint just doesn't look as good as it would if it was glossy. So if you look at the blue and then you look at my two green spots, there's definitely a difference in the shininess of both paints. So what I do in order to get that shininess back on my Amiibo is I just take a little coat of Mod Podge, and I'm just going to do it on this half, and I just paint a nice coat of Mod Podge gloss, and that is going to give it its shine back, and we'll check that out as soon as it dries. So now that our Mod Podge is dried, if we take a good look here, you can see that the Mod Podge gave our matte paint just a little shine, and it actually blends pretty well with the already glossy look of the Inkling's blue hair. Now if we look at the other side, it's not as shiny with that matte coat on there. So that's why Mod Podge makes a good coat for that glossy shine that these Inklings need. That's it for this week's edition of Amiibo Alerts Custom Corner right here on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed today's tips and tricks to make your very own Splatoon Amiibo. But before we go, we have one more thing to talk about. As of today, we're starting a brand new contest so that you can win your very own Inkling custom Amiibo. All you've got to do to enter is turn on Splatoon and dress your character in your favorite outfit or costume from the game. Then take a snapshot of that outfit and post it on Instagram or Twitter using the hashtag InklingCustomCorner. Be sure to tag myself, Kickash, and Amiibo Alerts in those photos, and at the end of 2 weeks when I go ahead and make my next Custom Corner video, we're going to go ahead and take the ones with the most likes and comments and turn them in to custom Amiibos. Now, once those custom Amiibos are created, the top 3 are going to be voted on by you, the audience, and the one with the most votes at the end of the next 2 weeks is going to be the winner, and that winner will be sent to you if it is your costume that got created and most voted on. So go ahead and submit those costumes, and be sure to send us all your Amiibo creations to myself, Kickash, and Amiibo Alerts on both Instagram and Twitter, and you might be featured in a future Custom Corner video, just like these guys. Once again, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you soon.